Today on Gun Talk Nation, we've got Daniel McLeroy from Daniel Defense. He doesn't own the company. He's an engineer and a shooter. He's going to give you some tips on PRS and some other little pet peeves. Lessons learned here. Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Hodgdon, the gunpowder people, Faxon Firearms, the Fellowship of Firearms, and by Remington Ammunition, trusted by law enforcement, available to you, Golden Saber Defense. Hey, welcome into Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, we've got Daniel McLeroy with Daniel Defense. Welcome in, man.
Hey, good to be here.
So, Daniel, tell people what you do there and how the hell why are you here?
I'm the senior product design manager for Daniel Defense, new product development, and I focus on bolt action rifles. Okay,
all right. So we have a bolt gun sitting on the table. If you're listening to this, you won't see it, but you can also tune in on YouTube, Facebook, all those places to see this bad daddy. What do we have here?
So this is kind of a very non-traditional bolt action rifle, right? This is a 16-inch heavy varmint contour barrel chambered in .308. It's a Delta 5 Pro is the name of the model.
So it's a bolt gun.
Yeah, bolt action rifle. This is set up for when you need anything within 500 yards to be able to be taken out.
But a handier package than
exactly
the monster package you guys have.
Yeah, you know, a 26-inch barrel is great for muzzle velocity, but a lot of times you just don't need it. Mm-hmm. And the mobility is more of a priority over the extra, feet per second or, the kinetic energy downrange.
And I bet with a bull barrel, a heavier contour barrel, still doesn't move much when you shoot it, right?
No, it's an extremely controllable rifle. This one has the Area 419 Hellfire muzzle brake on it, which is what it comes with. A fantastic muzzle brake. But even if you're running it suppressed, recoil management is simple. It's not a light gun. It's not something that you're going to ruck up a mountain.
Right.
But it's meant for you to be able to get into a position, hold that position for a while. If you wanted to say the sniper rifle or designated marksman, whatever you want to call it, they're on that rifle for usually too long, sitting there, and they're running a radio more than they are running the rifle.
Right.
They're giving back information. They're looking through the optics, and if you can be comfortable behind that rifle and not worried that you're moving off of target, when they might have to call for that shot, that's kind of the purpose of this rifle.
Designated marksman. That's a fun one to get into. We can go down a rabbit hole in that one.
Absolutely.
So, but I think, that comes from some people listening probably know, some people don't. If somebody goes, "What's that, Daniel?" what would you describe it?
I think that the actual typical response would be, it's someone that is using a Mark 12 type platform. So, AR-15, which 18-inch stainless steel barrel. So it looks like an M4, but it's a little bit longer and it's got a magnified optic on it.
Okay, but still in a 5.56.
Right.
But they're kind of like next step was sort of maybe an AR-10, or now this is a bolt gun.
I knew as soon as I said DMR.
I'm not giving you a hard time, but I like the DMR thing. I like the gun as a concept, of like, okay, this is something you can still carry and kind of ruck around.
Yep.
But you're gonna be able to reach out and touch some things, because I guess the idea would be the rest of your squad, your unit, whatever it may be, is carrying like M4s that have like red dots.
Right. And it depends on your situation, right? So military application versus law enforcement application. Sometimes we're working with county law enforcement. Sometimes we're working with federal law enforcement. So what they name things is different. When I mean dedicated marksmanship rifle, I mean someone that's got magnified optics that's going to be relaying information back to command, and it's there to be accurate. Its purpose is not there for suppressive fire or flanking. It is there to put a shot where it needs to be, when it needs to be there.
Would it be fair to say be able to make longer shots than the rest of the group you're with?
The system's definitely capable of it. I wouldn't actually say that it has a further engagement right now. This one would with a 308 over 5.56, right? More precise shot is what I'd go for, because a lot of law enforcement, they're not going to get a green light to take a shot really far away.
That's a good point.
The liability involved with it. You have a little shift in wind, bad things can happen. So it might be a 50-yard designated marksmanship rifle.
People don't think about that. And I think the stat I heard, and I could be wrong about this, you guys call me out if I'm wrong, but for law enforcement, like local, state law enforcement who are making a sniper shot, I'm doing the finger quotes, the average distance is like 77 yards.
Yeah, well, so now you're going to cause me to go down a rabbit hole. So the two biggest things there is, there was a study done, and it was any scoped rifle, right?
Okay.
So the problem with that is the longest law enforcement shot was actually taken with a fully automatic M16 that had a fixed 4-power scope on top of it, and it was out of a helicopter at somebody that had pointed the rifle up towards a helicopter, and he actually walked the rounds into the guy.
Oh, wow.
So I would not even consider that designated marksmanship.
No, that's not.
He was
shooting
it was
with
a
an
defensive shooting
thing,
situation. The closest shot was from one side of the card to the other. They always call the sniper too late. So he gets the call. He's running up there with his rifle and penny loafers on, and he runs behind the a car for concealment. And, they're trying to radio him to him. He's right there. He's right there. He's trying to get as much information and get on glass as soon as possible. He was on the other side of the car, so he actually dropped down and shot underneath the car. And that was
with a magnified optic.
With a magnified optic.
Wow.
So because he made the shot with a magnified optic. So you have a lot of averages that are getting really skewed there. I will say when you start looking at like hit probability, you want that 99.997. Hit probability for most agencies to say like, we're okay with you taking a shot within that area. And obviously it depends on the training involved and everything. But this is a very high hit percentage gun, 600 yards net.
Yeah. I like going down those rabbit holes, and it's like, I'm not military law enforcement, but we can learn so much from them, and it's an interesting exercise to play. Right. Which kind of ties into PRS, Precision Rifle Series.
Yes.
You shoot it.
I do.
And I was saying before we went on, you're kind of unique in that you're a guy who is in product development engineering at a gun company who is like a serious shooter, like wins matches. Look, there are still engineers that are great engineers, but they may not be much of a shooter. How does that help? I mean, what do you think that adds to it?
So there's many great minds and great engineers that aren't trigger pullers, and I'm sure they make great products, right? What I think it does is it makes my job easier, because as an engineer, the first thing is, who's my customer for this product, right? If I'm developing something for Dev Group or some other cool acronym, it's going to be catered towards that mission specific, versus if my customer is, a stay-at-home mom that needs something reliable and inexpensive, to protect her family. Those are two huge different customers, right? And that's why price points of guns are all over the place, right? Because there's different needs. So when we try to develop a product, the first thing is, who are we developing it for, right? Well, because I'm a trigger puller and I enjoy long range shooting, I'm the customer.
Yeah, you are the customer.
So it's very easy. Like, I want that, So I shoot a lot of matches where I see someone using a technique that I didn't know how to use properly or had never seen before, and being able to see how someone's utilizing their system. Oh, it'd be so much easier if there was an index point here. Right. Or it'd be easier if their wrist was this way, or just small details that make a big difference at the end product.
So along those lines, I mean, you shoot a bunch of matches. I mean, how many matches do you think you've been shooting lately? I mean, how per year?
I try to shoot one a month, whether it's a regional or a national match. Yeah. I
mean, what do you see when you go to these matches when you've got 100, 200, 300 shooters? I mean, what kind of stuff can you pull out of that?
Well, to go back into the law enforcement and the PRS, it's interesting that it used to be long range engagements were taught military or law enforcement, and that's where a lot of the development went into bolt action rifles, because those were the ones utilizing the capabilities of the system. And civilians, it was there's F class been around, there's some other games that have been around, but PRS has almost kind of flipped the switch as far as like, now you have law enforcement that are using equipment such as like a game changer. It's just a sand-filled bag that can contour around obstacles. So like a rock isn't square, you can make it an easy platform for the rifle to be on. A lot of techniques are being developed in PRS that now law enforcement and military are looking at and becoming more lethal, are increasing their lethality in learning those things from PRS. Now, we get it. It's a one-way range when we're shooting PRS, right? So there's a lot of things that we don't have to take into consideration. But we do have to consider time management, because everybody knows you have the automatic mine clearing device, or also called a shot timer. That you have a game plan, that buzzer goes off and you just, like you really got to work.
My mind just went blank.
Exactly. So you have, you're pushing your sympathetic nervous system, right? Because your heart rate's elevated, right? You have to work on lowering your heart rate, trying to stay calm, make sure you breathe. That was one of the things that I did in the very beginning is I'd get up there as soon as that buzzer went off, I'd get like 5 shots in and I realized like I've been holding my breath this whole time.
Wow.
And I noticed because my reticle's going all over the place. It's like, oh yeah, I need to breathe. My body requires oxygen, right? So
your body will decide that at some point. You're going to have to take a breath, you stupid SOB, right?
Exactly. So it's been great to see things, getting utilized on both sides of that fence, the contract versus, match guns, that kind of stuff.
And I think we've seen some of that. And I think, like you're saying, PRS is getting there for some of the more precision shooting, longer range shooting, and what's happening with the gear and the techniques and all that stuff. We've seen that over the years. On maybe the pistol side was an earlier adopter where, and I've always said, high level competitors and high level military don't give a crap about what you're supposed to like or how it's supposed to look.
Yeah.
If it works, if it's going to help me win matches, or on the other side, stay alive, protect my unit and do my job, I don't care if it's pink. I don't care if it looks stupid. I don't care if the YouTube trolls go, that's stupid. That's not the way to do it. I don't care. If it works, I'm on board. Right. When we come back, I want to ask you more about those lessons from PRS. Vortex Optics has a wide range of optics. They're one of these companies that makes kind of everything from low power variable optics to high power long range scopes to red dots to all kinds of things. But if you're heading to the range, a couple of items that people sometimes forget are spotting scopes and rangefinders. Rangefinders, if you're going to head out and it's going to be different than just your standard 100 yards, you got to know that range. And you'll be able to target different targets, figure it all out. But spotting scopes, let me tell you, looking through your 3 to 9 power, you're not going to be able to see hits very well. So you need a spotting scope. Check it out, vortexoptics.com. Armscor Rock Island Armory, the STK 100 is a 9mm aluminum frame, but they come from this 1911 heritage. So it's a 1911 grip angle, extended beaver tail. It's a nice shooting gun. 17 round capacity, updated optics plate for universal micro dots. And actually, they're even going to upgrade current owners to the new sight plate for free. They've lowered the MSRP to $499. Check it out, armscor.com. Hodgdon Powder. For 75 years, the Hodgdon family and employees have been passionate about hunting and shooting sports. They're now the largest U.S. supplier of smokeless powder, black powder substitute propellants, and they continue to expand with the addition of accurate powders and ram shot. You can find out more about loading, reloads, all their recipes that they test, rifle, handgun, shot shell powders, all at hodgdon.com. So, I mean, there's been an enormous growth in long-range shooting. And what are you guys seeing? What's the evolution from maybe what it was 4 or 5 years ago to what's been happening lately?
Probably the biggest shift has been availability of quality components. And when I say that, I mean on both sides as far as the rifle as well as the ammunition. It used to be that you had to go out and you had a gunsmith that took your 700, for example. Mm-hmm. They blueprinted the action. They put a good barrel on it. They bedded it in a quality stock. And it got very spendy. Yeah. Right. But then you had to trust this gunsmith. You had to develop this relationship with him, and really take his advice on what was right for what you knew, because there wasn't a lot of information, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you got that development, and then you had to go reload. You had, whether or not you were just doing better powder drops, making sure you had more consistent muzzle velocities. But now you have people measuring neck tension. It's not just cartridge overall length. They're actually measuring the jump and things like that. And why people still do reload, and reloading's a hobby in itself. I shoot every single one of my PRS matches with factory ammo.
Now, why is that? Because people would probably be surprised at that. You're like, if you're going for the most accuracy, you've got to work up loads and tailor it to your rifle, but factory ammo.
Absolutely. So some people could say I've handicapped myself in shooting factory ammo instead of reloading. However, my time's valuable. I'd rather spend time with my family, right? Or time practicing, right? That's something. For every hour you spend reloading, that's an hour you could have dry fired. That's an hour you could have done live fire. You could have worked a barricade. You could have worked through a practice. And I guarantee you, if I had 500 rounds of factory box ammo with you versus you loading up 500, how long it took you to load up those 500 rounds, you're going to be a better shooter with that factory ammo.
This kind of ties into something I was literally just talking about this morning, because I was saying, I'm not the most knowledgeable as far as like competitive shooting. I've kind of dabbled in different things, but to me, I've got mad respect for production class, because to me, it's like everything else. It's fun. It's neat, but it's a bit of a competition of gunsmithing.
Yep.
And production class is like, can you shoot? Take it out of the box, load it up. Let's go.
Yeah, there's definitely, open class is much more popular. There's more shooters competing in open class. There's a lot less limitations. You can run triggers that are extremely light, which is a whole nother rabbit trail. That's me thinking that you have bad fundamentals and you actually slap the trigger and you got away with it. But so
Daniel's trying to poke all the bears today.
Yeah, I apologize for that. But so all of our rifles, all of our Delta 5 Pro rifles shoot a 1/2 inch with factory match grade ammo.
Wow.
Guaranteed.
Okay.
If it does not do it, we'll get the gun back in. We'll either swap out the barrel, figure out whatever the issue is. Usually I think we've had 2 rifles come back since we've launched the rifle. One of it was, how do I say this correctly without getting in trouble? Someone had cooked up their own recipe and it was not adequate for the fuel they were putting in the system.
All right.
Basically, the reloads suck. If they would have just used factory ammo, it shot
premium
great.
Factory ammo.
Yep. And the other one, there was damage on the crown, right? So we're humans. We make mistakes, but we stand behind it. We realized what had happened. We put a new barrel in it. Shot lights out. It's good to go. So as far as me shooting factory ammo in PRS, my gun shoots in the 3s, right? 0.3, it's very consistent. And have I shot a 0.1 and a 0.2 with it? Yes, but consistently, if I get behind the rifle, it's gonna shoot a 0.3.
Yeah, you'd put money. That's where it's gonna be.
Yeah, that's just if you look at the Six Sigma, the natural distribution, that's how it ends up. It's a 0.3 gun. So how much accuracy does that gain me to have a 0.2 gun?
Right.
Right. The other really big component of factory ammo is SDs and extreme spread. So standard deviation and extreme spread for your muzzle velocity. We're shooting at such distance where, 30 feet per second can make you high or low on the target. You can miss a target just because of the speed.
All of those little variances, when you're start getting out to 800, 900, 1,000, 1,200 yards, they just blow up.
They multiply, right? Yeah. It's exponential. So we have used lab radar, chronos. We've used a lot of systems to test a lot of factory ammo, and I have a particular brand that I like to use. That if I take a box of 20, I'd put money that it's going to be under 15 feet per second.
Wow, that's good. That's
in SD, and that's better than I am a shooter.
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, what's the low hanging fruit here, right? Like, can I take a race car and put a big motor in it and, put a limited slip and all that kind of stuff? Yeah, that's great. But what if you just put on new tires?
Right.
Like the tires are going to get you more speed than all that horsepower is, right? So for me, I'm not limited by that ammo yet. So I'm going to keep using it. And if I win trophies doing it, that's awesome.
So you were talking about the Delta 5 half-minute guarantee.
Absolutely.
How hard is it, or I guess, how much of a jump when we say it's a 1 minute gun, it's a 1 MOA guarantee, which is, it's kind of wild that that's kind of almost standard now in just all guns, no matter the price point. That's kind of the standard guarantee these days. To go from a 1 minute gun to a half-minute gun, what are we talking here? I mean, what's more, how involved is that? I mean, it feels like it's a lot to me.
Yeah, it's not twice as hard.
That's not a small, yeah, exactly.
It's not twice as hard. It's, 4 to 8 times as hard.
Right,
to do that. A half minute, great example. So we actually had a family shoot day at Daniel Defense this past weekend. You brought your kids, your wife, you get to show them what because some people, hey, honey, I'm making this part. Okay, that's cool.
Right.
That she doesn't know. You're machining a part. Okay, thanks, honey. Where's dinner?
Right.
But they got to come out and they got to shoot the guns, and all the bolt guns we had out at a range that had 525 yards, and we had them shoot at 200 yards just to kind of make sure they had the fundamentals, so we weren't sending rounds over the berm. And then we already had come ups for them as far as elevation, so we just dialed it in for them. And I had, I don't know, I don't judge weight well, but she's, I guess, 70 pounds, like 10-year-old girl.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That hit 5 headshots on an IPSC target at 525, back to back.
Wow.
And she gets up and she goes, that was fun. So one, awesome, we got another gun enthusiast, right? We got her hooked, right? The other thing is like, man, if you just do what you're supposed to do, it's like with today's guns and today's ammo, it's extremely easy to be accurate at range.
So when we come back, I want to get your tips for those people who are thinking about doing some longer range shooting, how to get good at it. We'll be right back. Golden Saber Defense ammunition from Remington Ammunition is based on the same platform trusted by law enforcement. It's now available for personal defense. What's the deal with Golden Saber? Well, it's a brass jacketed hollow point. It's massive expansion, deep penetration, ultimate stopping power. The cases are nickel plated. What does that do for you? It resists corrosion, and it actually helps with cycling and adding to the dependability of that. Golden Saber Defense is available in the most popular pistol and revolver calibers, including 10 millimeter. Find out more at Remington.com. Silencer Central delivers your suppressor right to your door with a simple process. I know a lot of you go, man, I don't know if I want to go through all that. They make it easy. They mail you the paperwork. They mail you the little fingerprint kit. You take a picture with your phone. You upload it to your account there, and they handle working through the ATF process and getting you your suppressor. They make a variety of suppressors. The Banish 30 is probably the most popular, but their brand new one, the Banish 46, is something for those bigger bore cartridges. You can learn more at silencercentral.com. Faxon Firearms, family-owned and operated manufacturer based out of Ohio. If you want to customize, if you want to do builds, whether that's ARs or Glock pattern pistols, and also actually 1022s, they have a lot of cool options for you. Different colors of barrels, different patterns, different textures, all kinds of things. And they'll actually sell it to you right there on their website, faxonfirearms.com. So there are those who are doing long range stuff, and there are those who are thinking about doing it because it's so popular these days. And you were just saying that, with the right gear, the gear is making it easier to be better and consistent. And I found that to be true, especially, I'll show up at a media thing. Guns already sighted in. You got somebody like you who knows what he's doing. He's like, yeah, we need, 2 mils left on the wind or whatever. And he tells me what to do. And yeah, you can sit down and have people who are decent shots make 1,000-yard shots very consistently. But if somebody's getting into this, do you have pieces of advice? It could be gear things. It could just be shooting things as far as like, where do I start? Because there's a lot of people who the furthest they've ever shot a target is 200, 300 yards, maybe.
Right. We had people that had never shot over 50, right, at this event. So first thing is the internet is a wealth of knowledge, but be careful.
There's a lot of information. Some of it's good.
Yeah. And the reason I say that is now you can look up, what's the best this, what's the best that, how do I do this, how do I do that? There's tons of training videos that are free on the YouTube and all that stuff. And it's a great resource. I will say is if those videos make you hesitate one day on getting out to the range and shooting, they're not worth your time. Because I guarantee the PRS is probably one of the friendliest communities. And I say that just because I'm active in it, right? But they truly like, I carry an extra gun with me at almost every match I go to. So if someone's gun goes down, their trigger goes out, whatever it is, like I've got a gun, I've got a full workup for elevation, and I got 200 rounds of ammo.
Wow.
Use it.
I mean, yeah, it's there available.
Yep. You will never, like, anybody that's in the PRS, if you know them, you look them up and they're in your town, figure out, email them, however it works. Hey, I'm interested in doing this. And I guarantee you, they are going to spend an exorbitant amount of money and ammo and time getting you hooked.
To help you.
Yes. I mean, I took a coworker out. He had done some long range shooting, but it was more plinking at the farm kind of deal. Took him to his first PRS match. It was a regional match. He had a blast. I mean, he's just like, man, I get it. This is so, like, he got pumped up and he's like, what did I do here? What did I do there? I said, well, we're going to work on your biomechanical efficiency. Basically, you're taking too long to get set up in these locations. If you make this one movement, you get more time to focus on the reticle, whatever it may be. Yeah. And we just, you know, because it's you shoot a stage, you have 90 seconds usually, and then you're off. And then you know, whether you're spotting impacts for another shooter, you're prepping your equipment for the next thing, but there's a lot of downtime, right? And that's where the community is formed, in that downtime. And that's where you're coaching. I mean, you want some of the most inexpensive long range training, go to a PRS match.
Yes.
I mean, yes, take a class. It's great. Like I teach classes. It's awesome, but they're expensive. You're going to get some one-on-one attention, but a match fee for a regional is going to be like $100 to $200 depending on where it's at.
Yeah.
But you don't even have to compete. Just go, just show up and just ask people, hey, what's going? Do you mind if I follow you around? I'm thinking about getting into this. I don't know. Find a match, go to it, watch it. I guarantee you're going to be hooked, and you're going to know a lot more in those 8 hours of that match than you are, 40 hours of YouTube.
That's a great piece of advice. Just show up to a match or sign up for one, and then plan to do poorly and learn a lot. Yeah. I mean, what's wrong with that?
Too many people get fixed on my system is not perfect. And therefore I'm not going to go out and put myself in front of the public and potentially be judged on my setup, my performance, those kind of things. But we don't care. Yeah. All the shooters want, like, if you show up and you're like, I'm a brand new shooter, and for the radio people, I'm raising my hand. Yeah. I'm a brand new shooter. I guarantee you're going to have 5 people there trying to help you hit steel every shot.
Yeah. I mean, you have a team of people around you helping you.
With a lot of experience. I mean, I was at a regional match, but I was shot with, the guy that had won the PRS National Series, and he just happened to be the next squad. Yeah. So there's a lot of experience out there. It's a very friendly community. Get out there, let them help.
So the Delta 5, just kind of take me through, because you guys brought this out, 4 or 5 years ago, something like that?
5 years ago. Yeah.
Now you have all these different variations. Walk me through kind of the different flavors you guys have.
So the first Delta 5, it's a carbon fiber stock. The action is bedded in a mini chassis. It's got a pillared bottom metal, so everything's metal to metal there. And it's kind of like the general purpose, like, I need a bolt gun because I need that accuracy. It's just more traditional stock for people that are intimidated by a chassis, to be honest with you. Okay. The Pro model is everything's cranked to 11. Right. So it's the same action, same bolt, same barrel. Or, you can get a thicker barrel now because we have a basically unlimited barrel channel, right? With the handguard being a tube instead of, a stock. But so we released it into a chassis, which does a couple things for us. One, you can't get more rigid than an aluminum chassis. It's just extremely rigid. 2, it becomes a lot more adaptable to your quote unquote mission. Right. The Arca rail all the way across the bottom of the rail, we actually use the Arca lock. If you have a forward mounted optic, whether it be thermal or night vision, we have an extended Picatinny base that bolts from the action to the front of the rail.
Yeah, you've got, what is that? Probably 16 inches.
It's just under, it's like 19.2 inches. So just under 20.
You know what I'd like to call that?
What's that?
You have a lot of rail estate there.
Yeah. Tons of rail estate. Yeah, I like it. But for people that aren't going to run a forward mounted optic, that particularly like this one has an LPVO on it, but I run, a 56 objective. So I want that glass real low. We have a scallop in the front of this rail that lets you mount really low, so you're not sitting on top of that bar stool that's sitting on top of a skateboard trying to go down a mountain hill. Yeah. Like everything is nice and low, real linear recoil impulse. One of the things that's maybe overlooked that people don't understand in long range shooting is just how much you need the gun to be able to fit you correctly. Like a lot of shotgun shooters know this just because your point of aim comes from a lot of how does that shotgun fit you. Yep. Same thing with long range shooting. You might not think about it because you've got a nice light trigger. The gun weighs enough to not move it off of target. But if you're using tension, you have your muscles in your neck lifting your head in the right spot, or you're shouldering, you're pushing, all of those things result in your shot down range. So cheek riser, up and down, and then left or right, or toe in, toe out, so we can get that right fitment on our cheek. The length of pull system is shorter than most, so that you can square up to the rifle when you need to, or you can make it long
in different shooting positions, shooting prone, that kind of thing.
You can change the cant of your butt pad as well as the height, and basically just take the time to set it up for you so that when you lay down behind the rifle and you open your eyes, you have a clear sight picture and you are not fighting the gun to get the gun on target.
That's the test. That's one of the tests, at least, is you lay down in prone, you get perfect. You're looking through the scope at a target, and even if it was a 100-yard target, right? Mm-hmm. Close your eyes for a couple seconds, open them back up. Are you still crosshairs on the bullseye, or at least pretty close? Yeah, if not, you're not perfect. You're not comfortable.
You are having to influence the gun to be on target.
Yeah, you're fighting the gun.
Yeah, which means and then we all know accuracy is just consistency, right? So are you consistently giving those same inputs to the gun every single time? Well, if my inputs are nothing because I'm just a sack of taters sitting on the back of the gun, that's ideal, actually. Right. And just for a tip, what you're talking about, so especially if you have a large objective that has a scope cover, close it. Have them get behind the gun, and you can selfie yourself or whatever. Just set it up, videotape your face, right?
Okay.
And then close your eyes, because when you close your eyes and you open them, you can cheat. You can be like, oh yeah, that was fine. But what you do is you have the scope cap closed, and then when you flip it open, that's going to let you see through it, and you're going to see your head's going to go.
You're gonna
just a little bit. And if you look at, like, the video doesn't lie, right? To be like, oh, I had to move.
Yeah. So
make the adjustment, take the time to set the gun up for you until you do that. And you just flip the scope cap open. Yep. Perfect, clear sight picture. I don't have any shadowing or, moon crescenting kind of thing going around. It doesn't even really matter if your parallax is correct at that point. You just want a clear sight picture.
I like that. Yeah. Cause you could cheat it, but the video will not lie.
Yeah.
What are some things that people either misperceptions about Daniel Defense, or things that they just tend to not know about you guys?
Well, one is we have a phenomenal reputation as making quality AR-15s, and our DD5, which, AR-10 kind of pattern. And a lot of people don't understand, like, why are y'all doing bolt guns?
Sure.
Because you make great ARs, stay in your corner kind of thing. But we saw that there was a need in the market for all the advantages of those high-end custom bolt guns at a price point that's not custom and doesn't have a 6-month lead time.
Yeah.
Now, the gun industry is a little crazy right now. Lead times have extended, but still, it's you're not waiting on forever for this rifle to be built. The other thing is like I'm guilty of this myself. Like, I had a hunting rifle. It was zeroed in at 100 yards, and I didn't touch anything on it because I was scared that
Hey, we've all done that, right? It's good. Don't mess with it. Yes.
Don't touch it, right? But this, how many people have no problem swapping a barrel or a handguard or furniture on an AR? It's no big deal. Well, same thing. This has got 2 bolts holding the receiver into the chassis. It's got some bolts holding the rail in, and you can't mess it up, right? If this bolt goes forward and down, you did it correctly. If it fits, it ships kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
It's headspace from the factory with the barrel, so you don't have to worry about causing an issue there. We tried to take all of the things that cause intimidation out so that you can plug and play what you need.
Very cool. Yeah, and you're right. There are used to be guns of this nature would be twice as expensive and twice as long to get. I mean, we're talking who knows how long. And it's pretty amazing to be able to go to your website, say, yeah, I want that one, buy it, get it in. I mean, and you're just kind of ready to go. Man, cool stuff. Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, you guys. So Daniel Defense, go check them out. Go check out the Delta 5 because, like Daniel said, I mean, you may not think of Daniel Defense as doing bolt guns, but they're doing them. They're doing them well. So we'll see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.